Hi there! Welcome to the Tenant Toolbox, your guide to understanding your rights, responsibilities, and best practices as a renter. Whether you're signing your first lease or just looking to make smarter housing decisions, this video will give you an overview of the basics of lease agreements. Written leases are best, and they help prevent misunderstandings between the landlord and tenant that could potentially lead to eviction. You should request a written copy even if your agreement is month to month. Written agreements may offer some additional protections for tenants. For example, in Oklahoma, if you don't have a lease agreement, your landlord can cancel your lease for any reason by giving you a 30-day written notice. You should read the entire lease and make sure you understand it fully before signing. Let's go over some items that you should look for and flag as important. First, you should look for your lease term. The lease term lays out how long the rental agreement will last. Most standard leases are for one-year terms. So if you sign a lease on January 1st, 2025, and it is for a term of 12 months, it will expire on January 1st, 2026. It is important to note and mark in your calendar when your term expires. At least 30 days before your term is set to end, you should let your landlord know in writing whether you would like to renew your lease or if you are going to move out at the end of your term. Some agreements might require more than 30 days' notice of your plans. If you don't give the landlord this notice but continue staying in the unit and paying rent, you will become a month-to-month tenant. Next, you should find the rent amount and due date. This part of the lease tells the tenant how much rent is, when it's due, and how to pay it. You are responsible for paying the correct rent amount on or before the day it is due each month. Failure to pay can result in your landlord filing for eviction. If you are going to be late making your payment, make sure to communicate that to your landlord along with when they can reasonably expect your payment. Clear communication may be helpful in avoiding an eviction for non-payment of rent. You should also locate any late fees and penalties listed in the lease. If rent is late or a rule is broken, like having pets you didn't get permission for or damages, you could face extra fees. These penalties may not be clearly listed in the agreement or may be spread out in multiple sections. Read carefully. Not knowing or understanding what is written in the agreement is not a defense for violating the lease. You should also understand the section that discusses the security deposit. A security deposit is money you give your landlord before you move in, usually equal to 1 month's rent, but not always. A security deposit is not a fee, and it is also not rent. Think of it as the landlord's just-in-case fund. The landlord holds on to this money during your term in case something goes wrong, like if you cause damage to the unit while you live there. If you take care of the home, pay your rent, and follow the agreement, you should get your security deposit back when you move out. Here's the key. Once your tenancy ends, you must ask for your deposit back from your landlord in writing. Your landlord can make reasonable deductions for damage to the unit or unpaid rent or fees, but must return any remaining security deposit to you within 45 days of your written demand. Another critical portion to read is the section on utilities and services. Some utilities may be included in the rent, but services like internet or electricity may be the tenant's responsibility. The lease will tell you which utilities are covered by the landlord and which utilities are your responsibility. Occupancy limits should also be something that you read and follow. It is common for a lease to state that only a certain number of people can live in the unit. However, it is also common for there to be limits on how long guests can stay. Check your agreement and communicate with your landlord to avoid any issues. If you are a pet owner, then you need to understand the pet policy. Some places allow pets with extra fees. Others don't allow pets at all. If pets are allowed, the lease may require an additional pet deposit along with your security deposit, or it might require a non-refundable pet fee. Some landlords will even increase the amount of rent charged to cover a pet. Additionally, landlords may limit the type, size, breed, and number of pets you can have in your unit. The lease usually states that you are responsible for any damage or disturbances caused by your pet. This includes scratched floors, noise complaints, or messes in shared spaces. Always check the pet policy and get any pet-related permission in writing before bringing a pet home. It is important to note that under federal and state law, Landlords cannot charge pet fees or deny housing to someone with a service animal, but they can require documentation. Your lease may also include rules about noise, smoking, or parties. Breaking any rule laid out in the agreement can possibly lead to fines or even eviction. Did you know? In Oklahoma, you can be evicted for not paying rent, breaking your lease, or staying after your term ends. If you get an eviction notice, don't wait. Open your mail, talk to your landlord, and get legal help. The sooner you act, the more options you have to stay housed. If you get an eviction notice with a court date, it is very important that you show up. If you don't go, the landlord can automatically win. In Oklahoma, about 80% of evictions end in a default judgment because the tenant did not appear. Know your rights, go to court, and get help.